Antony Blinken and Eli Cohen have spoken on the phone about a range of issues, including the recent violence in the West Bank and the Iranian influence on that violence. The U.S. Secretary of State and the Israeli Foreign Minister also discussing the normalization of ties between Israel and other nations and setting a new date for the Negev Forum, which was set to take place in Morocco, a signatory to the Abraham Accords. It was postponed after the recent settler rampages in the West Bank. Now, Blinken adding that while Washington appreciates the condemnations by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Cohen himself and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant after those rampages, more needs to be done. Cohen also condemning the violence in which Israeli citizens took the law into their own hands and said the government would employ all means necessary to stop this from happening. So for more details and insight, our senior diplomatic correspondent Owen Alterman is here in studio. We've been discussing in recent hours the Israeli strategy, leaders reaching out, discussing these issues. What is the latest out of this discussion between Eli Cohen and Antony Blinken?
Well, we have the formal readout from the Israeli Foreign Ministry, so we know what points they want to emphasize from this call, right? And naturally, the good stories are potentially good news stories, right, from the U.S.-Israel relationship right now. Potential progress and normalization between Israel and the Arab world. We've heard from the Biden administration that it's a priority for them, let alone a priority for Israel and for Israel's foreign minister. So that is the headline in the Israeli readout of the call. And also this issue of Israel entering the visa waiver program, potentially as early as this fall. Foreign Minister Eli Cohen again complimenting outgoing U.S. Ambassador Tom Nides for his activity on this issue. A big deal for Israeli passport holders to not have to wait in those humiliating lines, right, outside the U.S. Embassy branch office in Tel Aviv.
Well. We know them
Absolutely.
Well.
I mean, I don't as an American, but obviously watching people in those humiliating lines and the potential that in 6 months or 3 or 4 months even, the Israelis won't have to do that is obviously would be big news here and good news. But of course, they're the bad news stories. They do appear in the Israeli readout, right? The potential escalation or ongoing escalation, if you will, in the West Bank. And of course, the most sensitive issue at the moment in U.S.-Israel relations, violence by Israeli settlers toward uninvolved Palestinian civilians, was raised in the call. Eli Cohen again saying the Israeli government has denounced it. U.S. sources have been telling Israeli media that it was more than that, that Secretary Blinken said that Israel needs to do more. Even that a bit more of a gentle message than one wonders whether that was actually the tone on the call. At any rate, we're still waiting for the readout from the American side, and then we'll be wiser about what points the State Department wants to emphasize here. But a call between the two at another sensitive time in relations between the United States and Israel. Again, some potential good news stories, of course, but also there are those obstacles, and that's even before we've gotten to the Iranian nuclear program mentioned, albeit almost in passing, in the readout from the Israeli Foreign Ministry.
How much of an impact is this violence and the way it's being dealt with in terms of the settler rampages impacting signatories to the Abraham Accords? We know that the Negev Forum is being pushed out for now. That was part of the discussions. What are other allies saying? What is the sentiment in terms of the new allies to Israel about what is unfolding right now in the West Bank?
Well, first of all, Benita, you're right. The Negev Forum was there, of course, to remind viewers. The Negev Forum was this event held last year in the Negev here in Israel with the foreign ministers of Israel and a number of Arab countries from around the region. It was really an unbelievable event. I remember being in studio watching foreign minister after foreign minister praise normalization of the relationship. And it was supposed to be held in Morocco this month or next. The Moroccans have decided to cancel or postpone it. And the for the Israeli government foreign ministry, a priority to have a date set for that and to have it happen and to have additional countries join, even if as observers, countries with which Israel doesn't have relations. At any rate, you're right, Benita. These governments have not been happy with what they've been seeing in the West Bank, have come out and said so. It has long been the view from the Israeli government that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the normalization were on two separate tracks. These Arab governments are saying that that's not necessarily so, or at least it's not necessarily so when certain red lines are crossed, and signaling that those red lines have been crossed. So it's certainly something that the Israeli government is going to have to deal. How do they manage between the political dynamics inside the Israeli government and Israel's diplomatic imperative of advancing with its normalization in the Arab world that's important across the political spectrum here?